Every day, America Online is making it easy for people to live, work, and play.
When we installed internet access on our computer, I got the whole family involved.
On YouTube, play music and
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
Stop, you beautiful bastards!
No matter how large, no matter how small, we'll be on the internet in the year 2000. It's the primary way that people will look up information.
Shut up!
When we were there.
Hello, and welcome to When We Were There, a biased internet history. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Josh, and this is a podcast all about the history of internet content. The who's, the what's, the where's Waldo. We're going to get into it all.
Whether you like it or not.
And you know what? I think you guys are going to like these next guests. We got some real cool guys here. Some guys who are climbing all the way to the top. But first, Thomas, how's your day going?
It's going pretty dang good. A garbage truck just drove by my window and shook this entire house. My house is 100 years old, and every day when that happens, I feel like it's going to fall down.
Has it yet?
Has it fallen down yet?
Yeah.
Almost.
Nice, dude.
Max said, one of my roommates says that there's cracks in his ceiling. So that's part of why we're getting the hell out of here. Anyway,
one of many reasons.
How are you doing?
I'm not doing great. I was gonna make Joe this morning, and I guess Laura used all the actual grounds that we have, because I had to make instant coffee, and it was a terrible decision.
So you're pissed.
I'm pissed.
Right.
I know it's like not technically the worst thing that's happening, but I think there should be a little bit of attention to it.
You want like people to sympathize with you.
Yeah, well, like I don't know, maybe my mom could reach out and be like, "Hey, Josh, I'm really sorry about the instant coffee thing."
You want your mom to do that?
Yeah, I think it'd be a nice gesture.
Does your mom listen to the podcast?
No, she would never.
Yeah, it's not for her.
But you know what? We're talking too much about ourselves. We have with us the Goal Guys. How's it going, gang?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Aside from the coffee thing, I'm pretty good. But let's say for some reason, some idiot listens to this podcast. They hear you guys. For some reason, they don't know who you are. Who the heck are you guys?
We are a two-brother duo. We run a YouTube channel called Goal Guys. Our channel is based all around self-improvement. So overarching productivity, health, wellness, nutrition, all sorts of things like that.
And how did you guys get into, starting a YouTube channel? And, it's definitely gotten a great following at this point. What was like the inception of this is what I want to do on the internet?
Well, Cam, you were kind of the one who wanted to get it started right off the bat after university. So I guess I'll defer to you because I came late.
Yeah, for sure. When I graduated university, I got out of a acting program and I thought I was going to make a living as an actor. As so many hopeful, youthful people do.
Yeah.
And I was working contracts, being an actor, working in theaters, and I was working coffee shop jobs. And I wound up in Ottawa, a city where I didn't really know anyone, didn't have very many friends, and I was working some gigs there. And I was hit with, I have a bunch of student debt. My career's not like getting the jump start that I thought it would straight out of university. So I was like, I don't have much else to do. I'm watching a lot of YouTube. Maybe I'll try my hand at making a video. So I had an old camera kicking around that I had no idea how to use, and used that, made a bunch of videos where I looked very orange because I didn't understand what white balance was.
Right on.
And
yeah.
posted those for my buddies and thought they were kind of fun and funny, and just kind of kept going from there. And eventually it sort of morphed into a more self-improvement sort of focus thing, because that's a lot of the stuff that I was interested in reading, really trying to get my footing on my life and who I was, and kind of looped Brendan in from there.
When I did a deep dive on the channel,
oh no,
the first video I found was, don't worry, the first video I found was you talking about how, I believe it was 2016, it was going to be your year of improvement. Was that the first video you uploaded, or were there older videos that you've like taken down?
There are older videos that got taken down for sure.
Yeah, classic.
I still think about taking the one that you just mentioned down, the older ones, but those ones are okay. That's after I like learned quite a bit, so it's like that's not
right.
the worst, but there's a lot of stuff that should never see the light of
it's
day.
history.
Yeah, it's history that
I was gonna
should
say
not be viewed by everyone.
It gives a good it's nice to see the origins of a channel.
Yeah.
And I totally get it because so last week we had on my old, like I used to make YouTube videos when I was like a kid, like 11 and 12, making sketch comedy, and we had my old partner on, and we were talking about how like our whole channel is private right now.
Right.
It's fun for us to every so often go back and watch them, but like, man, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to put them out on the internet for everyone to see.
Yeah.
It's a one-day thing. Like I had an old YouTube channel in high school with a buddy, and it was called Jews Making Movies, which I don't even know if that would work in today's zeitgeist.
Yeah, maybe not.
A lot of like Jake and Amir parodies and trying to be Freddie W stuff that is just, it's very cringy watching back now. But I don't know. I think it's fun to kind of look at that stuff because then you can see where you came from and be like, oh, I'm not as shitty anymore, at least.
Truly, yeah. That is a good feeling. It's nice to find the silver lining in the mass production of cringe content that I had in my life at that point. So it's like I grew from it. You know, it's nice to take that away at least. But I actually also
made a few things that haven't been cringe.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. We'll see how long they last, but.
Yeah, you'll look back at now, 10 years from now, and be like, what was I doing?
I was going to say, that's always how it goes. You get a few years away from it, and you're like, that really wasn't it. But
you know what, though? Sometimes there is stuff that you look back at, and you go, you know what? This is pretty good. I didn't think it was good at the time, but now I'm happy with it.
True.
And this is going to be one of those things. You'll be like, I can't believe I did that fucking podcast with those guys.
Yeah.
That really like took our career back at least a good 3 years.
Yeah.
It was a very bad move.
Because we're gonna steal the years from you. But I have a question for you, Brendan, because you said you came on late, and I guess like, did you have any knowledge? You were saying previously that you've done some gaffing jobs and stuff. So did you already know a bit about like filmmaking or video working?
I didn't know a lot about video working. I had gotten some on-set jobs through the union in Toronto.
Right.
And was really getting a lot of work in the scene shop because I didn't know how to do anything, but I was like willing to work hard and became basically like either the head of labor or like the recurring shop labor for this scenic art department. So I would handle paints, I would set up workspaces, and just keep the shop order flowing for the people who are painting the sets and locations and doing all that stuff. And it was really just such an all-consuming job that I was looking for a bit of an escape or something else to do. So when Cam was making these YouTube videos, he was trying to do a video every week, and I was like, oh, well, I could come on and maybe like do a short-term challenge and try and like see if I can learn a skill or do this thing, and then I'll post a video every month, and between the two of us, that should be like a pretty decent means of production. Mm-hmm. Everything took a lot longer than expected in terms of how much work it took to post things. But some of those 30-day videos did pretty well. The first one, I think, was probably where I tried Hugh Jackman's Wolverine diet and workout plan as I could find it on the internet.
Right.
And that, over the course of a year, got like 1 million views, and was like, oh, well, maybe we should do more like short-term challenges that are really like built for like anyone who clicks on the video, they can jump in and watch that video.
Right.
And if you follow us for long term, you'll kind of see like our progression over time, but each video stands alone, where originally Cam was doing like updates on challenges as he was working through the year.
Yeah, that's what I remember seeing as well. It was the challenge for the whole year 2016. Mm-hmm. All right. So I guess then it sounds like Cam actually had the steeper learning curve than you did for learning how to put together videos and stuff.
Well,
Or
he
am I
got much
mistaken?
better. He got much better at it than I did quickly, but the thing was, my videos succeeded in spite of the fact that they were not good, because they were short-term challenges where
Because
you
your
had a
ideas
thumbnail,
were solid.
the thumbnail of a skinny guy and thumbnail of a less skinny guy who's built some muscle seems to do well on the internet. So.
Well,
Right.
that really blew up. I mean, even your guys' SEO is amazing on that. If you type in Wolverine workout or Wolverine diet, your guys is the first video that comes up. And
Yeah.
when something like that happens, where it's like maybe overnight or not, this one video you guys do is like kind of the start of getting a lot more views. Like, one, what is it like to just have something blow up like that? And two, how do you think you keep that momentum going to the next video?
To answer the second part, you don't. The momentum is very, very strange in these things.
Yeah.
It is nice if a video is taking off for a period of time, and then a few more people find it. But really, I find our stuff, an individual video succeeds whenever it happens to succeed. And what we really try and focus on is sustaining like our median view count. Like what are we getting on like the range from like a low performing video to a high performing video? How do we keep those low performing videos as high as possible? How do we keep the level of our quality good?
Right.
Because every now and then something takes off in the algorithm, which is nice, but it doesn't necessarily mean 3 other things skyrocket with it.
Yeah, they sort of take off in spite of the channel. Like,
Yeah.
it's more people discover that single video rather than your channel as a whole, right?
Yeah, and you will get new subscribers from that, but it doesn't mean necessarily that one video takes off and then 2 others will get a boost because of it.
Right.
But you will see like a little bit of like channel activity grow because people find that video, they subscribe, they check out some other things. But really, it's one video at a time when something does well.
But would you still say that that Wolverine video like kind of took you into like the next level with the channel, like by getting so much notoriety? Or do you think that was happening already and then that just sort of happened to be something that blew up?
No, it took a lot longer than that actually, and it had a lot of success after the fact. Like it did well and got like 100,000 views, and I don't know if it was because of a new X-Men movie or something. But there was like a 2-month period where all of a sudden that video went from maybe 1 million views to like 3 million views. And it was apropos of nothing that we had done.
I guess it was like, Logan coming out in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably helped us a lot. It's hard to say. Recently the Queen's Gambit came out and we got a huge boost on our chess video off that for like a month, where people were watching Queen's Gambit, looking up chess videos and coming across our stuff. So that does happen.
I know after Queen's Gambit came out, we bought a chessboard at my house. So
There you go. That's the correlation there.
But the answer as far as does it change the trajectory of the channel, not so much. It's nice when it happens.
Yeah.
But really the metrics of like improvement and growth are really how long you can stay consistent with videos and maintaining quality. That really is what I think it comes down to, more than anything else that the algorithm does.
right.
Yeah, the algorithm is interesting, and I guess I'll get into this a little bit because it is an internet history podcast. But I remember in the early days of YouTube, a lot of the time, the algorithm favored pushing smaller creators, and it was a lot more about like view count, subscriber count that pushed you, which is why animation did so well in the early days. And then I think in the era that we're getting into now with like the Jake Pauls and even when Casey Neistat was uploading every day, I think it pushes for longer than 10 minutes, more consistent uploads. But I think one of the things that is a negative of that, I think, is that a lot of people, put out content that kind of is just to get stuff out. And I think something I really respect about you guys, and not to shit on anyone else, but a lot of the challenge videos that you guys do are usually 30 days plus or 2 weeks plus, where, if you look at someone like, I'm not going to name any names, actually. I don't want, by any chance.
Jump in, start a fight, please.
Yeah. Internet beef.
Jesse James West. But no, like, especially a lot of fitness people is like, I tried The Rock's diet and workout for a day. Or, and when you're seeing these people who are already genetically blessed at probably the end of the limit of muscle they're going to gain, trying like a 7,000 calorie challenge in a day, I think anyone with a basic knowledge of sports science knows that either in a day or a week, you're not really going to see any change, especially when someone's at their genetic ceiling. Maybe some fluctuation in water weight. And I think the fact that you guys, whether it be a physical challenge or a mental challenge, or even something like when you guys did isolation or staying off the phone, you're doing it for a long enough time where you can actually see some sort of pattern forming. And I think it'd probably be easy just to do like, I didn't go on my phone for a whole day just to please the algorithm. But I do think it's really cool that you guys give it time to marinate. And as well, I think it's cooler to see, someone like us, an average Joe, doing a fitness challenge rather than, someone who's been doing this for 12 plus years and already is jacked.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the benefit that we, or at least the positive feedback we get back, is that 30 days seems to be a nice time frame where a lot of people, that's long enough that most people won't do it. but long enough to actually start to see some sort of forming, reoccurring benefits or process, whatever it may be that comes from that. And so, but at the same time, it does make it tricky because going back to algorithm and how things work, YouTube does love consistency. It's one of the best practices you can have is to be like, we post every Tuesday and Saturday and stay consistent with that. And your audience knows when to show up, what's coming out. But with what we're doing, it doesn't quite work that way. But I think the value is like you said, in a little bit of the longer format and seeing how that plays out if it's actually stuck with for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, and I imagine it helps you build like an actual niche within your genre on the platform. Like people come to you for these longer format videos, you know?
Yeah, I think so, at least. I think it's interesting talking about niche because I think that's something our channel struggled with a little bit because we tend to describe our channel as self-improvement, which is pretty vast and pretty broad. So what we find a lot of the times is people will show up for a fitness video and love the workout videos that Brendan does specifically, and then won't show up for like not using a phone or isolation or the more like productivity based ones. So we found it a little bit tough to merge the interests of our subscriber base and keep everyone coming back just because they like us or just the content in general.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Well, I know it's actually interesting because I know Josh, as is evident, knows a lot more about fitness and just he actually is fit.
What are you guys talking about?
I am much less fit. So I find for me what I'm actually interested generally on your channel is the more productivity ones or like the not using a phone or the one like becoming better at speaking. Those are the videos that I find when I look through the channel. I'm like, oh, I want to watch that one. Whereas Josh, it might be the reverse. So like it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I do love the fitness videos.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I think, because while you are maybe doubling your audience, you're also, like you said, splitting it. So it might make someone less likely to subscribe because they don't want this other half of the videos in their feed.
Possibly, but I would even say, you know, as a gym rat with not enough muscle to be a gym rat, I still do really love some of the other videos, especially like the one about, you know, not being on your phone for a while. I mean, unfortunately, you know, with doing restaurant management and trying to get a hold of people to do our dumb little show, it's a little harder to never do it. But I think, you know, seeing you do it really motivated me at the very least to, you know, like, okay, me and the wife are going to start reading, put the phone away for like the last 2 hours before I go to bed. And it does help with sleep. And I'm already a terrible sleeper, but it has helped improve. Or even like, I forget the exact gentleman. I think he was a Navy SEAL. You guys did a video on getting up early. That was you, Brendan. I don't remember.
Oh,
Jocko
yeah.
Willink.
Yeah, and I know Casey did a video. You know, if you see someone like Casey Neistat or Jocko doing it, you know, these are people that do it all the time. But, you know, seeing someone like you guys do it, not to be like seeing a chump like you, but like, you know, seeing someone that you think you can relate to doing something like that, it kind of does motivate you more to be like, oh shit, I want to try that. Rather than like, whether it be fitness or something a little more mental, when you see a professional who's been doing this their entire life do it, it's like, yeah, of course they're going to be able to do it, you know?
Yeah, there's a mix for how we think about what our content is. Because on one thing, and something I really want to focus on this year is really sustained improvement in terms of like fitness and stuff like that. But I also realize if I do significantly improve over the course of this year in terms of some of my calisthenics goals, then I also have to realize like these are no longer going to be average Joe videos. I won't be like an elite athlete by any stretch, but I will be at a significant point where I'm not where your average Joe is anymore. Right. But I'm also, you know, people seem to roast you when you don't sustain progress you make. So that's something I'm really trying to work on as well. And just
that was something I wanted to ask about is like, how often do you find how often is it when you finish a goal that you're okay, I'm done. You're like, that was cool, but I don't want to keep doing that, and you drop it. And then how often is it something that you continue, even maybe like a neutered version of it, to continue in your life?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember doing the muscle up video, and I have since not been able to. I cannot do a muscle up anymore.
Right.
Though though I've maintained a lot of my strength and stuff, I haven't put in the time to continue working on the technique and the muscle memory of doing it, because so much of calisthenics isn't just strength. It's a skill and technique and how you're moving your body. But I'm at a point where I'm also like, I could go back and relearn that skill much quicker now, I think.
Right.
And so really I was just like, okay, I'm not going to put in the time of continuing to practice this, but I'm going to try and build off of that and do some other things. I think the video we're working on right now, there's elements of the workout. We're trying Chris Haria's workouts, or as close as we can to his. And I'm like, there's stuff I'm going to do for 2 weeks and probably replace with cardio and things like that, because those are my priorities right now. But it is always nice to like dip your finger in, and sometimes you find stuff that you really want to hold on to that works well for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And eventually you kind of walk away with like a smorgasbord of stuff that works for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, is there...
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think
that's all me.
The thing that's interesting is that a lot of the times what we're doing is kind of extreme. Like, I think, like, for instance, 7 days of complete isolation, or like 30 days without a phone. It's like most people aren't going to...
The Wim Hof.
Yeah, most people aren't going to do this stuff. Most people aren't going to take the time to, like, commit that much to something. And so I think one of the best things is like those little takeaways from it, where it's like, okay, I don't have to give up my phone for 30 days, but let me reanalyze how I'm using this, how I'm interacting with it, what sort of habits I have with this thing. And even with things like when I did 7 days in complete isolation, the sort of like self-knowledge and habits that I picked up and took from that, am I going to do 7 days in complete isolation again anytime soon? Nah, I'm good. But a lot of the things that I took from that were really helpful and really beneficial. So it's those little things you can pull from and keep using.
Well, yeah, that's the cool thing. Even especially like something like the video of, not being on your phone at all, taking that even to a smaller segment of, at the end of it, you're saying, I'm going to try to turn my phone off hour and a half, I think it was, before bed. Yeah. I was like, oh, I should try to do that. And then I'm like, oh, but like, what if someone needs to get a hold of me? And then I'm like, oh, this is an addiction.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because you realize too, it's like, man, like it can wait generally, like.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the death of the
Well, don't shit on me for that, Thomas. Our codependent relationship is the reason I don't turn my phone on.
Well, I was gonna say, I think the death of the landline might have contributed to that as well, because now it's like, if you had a landline, if someone really needed to get a hold of you, they could call your house phone, right? But that's not in your bedroom. That's not like on your pillow, you know? Mm-hmm. But the cell phone, like, I know I charge it next to my bed at night, so it's like it's right there. If it buzzes and I'm, sleeping, it can wake me up and be like, oh, well, who's trying to talk to me?
Well, even like with something like MSN, when I remember being like, if I was only on MSN when I signed into MSN, when I was at that small amount of time after school that I would be at my computer, and now it's like if someone messages me on Messenger, like, I mean, there's nothing stopping me from responding in a minute.
You're everywhere.
But we went
it's everywhere.
Almost the entire length of human civilization with not having like immediate, oh, I'll get back to you right away, and no one died over it. And
well, I don't know if that's true.
That's true. But I should probably get in that mindset more of being like, yeah, no, Thomas, I don't need to call you 10 minutes before I go to bed for you to read me a book. I can live without.
At least not every day.
Not every day.
Like every other day is good.
Yeah. And so I got a meat and potatoes question for you guys, a hard-hitting question. Wow. Before we go into a little background. Have you guys ever accomplished a hands-free ejac?
What is that?
It is going to completion, no hands. It's just something we're starting to ask our guests.
Whoa. This is a pivot.
That could be the next goal.
Wait, not using your own hands or
no one's hands?
No hands.
Kegel exercises.
Ejac.
Oh, like Kegel stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a no.
I think I'm a yes, actually. I think I'm a yes.
Nice, Mike.
But I think it was a long time ago. I like just being a very horny teenager. Define hands-free, because it wasn't like a Kegels thing. I think it was more
Well, I think Josh, you got to tell your story.
Yeah, I guess like why the
Because
question?
Josh, the reason why he gets to ask is because he's done it.
Just once, or like it's a frequent thing?
Does sleeping count?
Oh, sleeping does not count.
Okay, because I'm like, then we're going back to like the days of being 13. But
Yeah.
Well, if
okay, let's.
Jeez, I'm being put in the spot now.
You can't put them on the spot and then not want to talk about it yourself.
Okay, so essentially, in a nutshell, I was watching adult entertainment, and I was like, been a couple days, and I was like, what if I just squeezed mentally?
Mentally squeezed.
And it just happened. It's never happened before. I was 19. It's never happened after that.
Okay.
I was just wondering if this is something that people have tried.
You weren't doing anything.
He just wants to not feel alone.
Yeah, I don't want to feel alone.
No, of course not. And maybe I don't think I've had that experience. I don't know. I feel like I'm not writing in the diary every time I'm getting off, but I feel like I've had an experience similar to that when I was like young, but I don't know if I remember it enough to detail it enough. I definitely don't think it was just a squeeze, but
A mental squeeze.
a mental squeeze. Sorry to clarify.
Yeah.
But to go back to more serious business, I think in kind of the world of, challenge videos, I think since the beginning of YouTube, even like starting something as simple as like the Cinnamon Challenge or BF versus GF, or two people trying to accomplish a goal and see who wins. I would say, and I could be totally wrong about this, I'd love to know in that sort of challenge sense what inspired you guys. I know BuzzFeed got a lot of blow up from doing their Train Like a Superhero for 30 days video, and I think that kind of started a resurgence. But what do you think was the thing that was like, if any inspiration for that sort of thing, what do you think it was for you guys?
I'm sorry, that is the strangest transition.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on the hands-free.
We're still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What was the inspiration for?
So, I think before we get into that specifically, a question I've been wanting to ask you guys is, like, and it can kind of encompass this inspiration thing, would be more of like, how would you describe your relationship with the internet? Like, how long have you been online? What sort of things were you doing on it, hands-free ejac aside? What sort of things were you using the internet for? Then how did that feed into where you are with it now? And then yeah, like Josh was saying, what sort of like influences led you to this path?
I grew up being very online. Like I watched YouTube from the early days. Loved YouTube. I was like following Smosh, and I watched like the Fred videos when I remember when he was like the first channel I think that hit 1 million subscribers, and how huge of a deal that was. And I remember making like sketch comedy videos with my buddies in like late middle school maybe. Just because YouTube was the center of where we would watch stuff. Like I grew up watching not a lot of television and watching a lot of YouTube. So I feel like YouTube's always just kind of been the go-to entertainment source for me. But then also just like every social media, I feel like I adopted every social media as it came. I hopped on. I remember like in middle school, the girl that I had a crush on told me to get on Facebook, and like she would write on my wall and stuff. And how exciting that was. That was a rush.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. I got onto Facebook to play games.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was not as cool as you at all.
Being on Facebook isn't cool inherently, so not a huge loss.
That's true.
But like things like Twitter now.
It was so cool though when it started.
Oh yeah,
that is true.
You go there, you upload photos. If your relationship status was like complicated, you knew you were a cool kid.
Or like girls,
that's impressive.
If they would edit like Picnic, Picnic the app, when they could like add little text and like animations to photos. Yeah. Like, if girls did that for you, then that was a big thing back in the day for sure.
That never happened to me because I was the late bloomer. But I think something that we really love to talk about on the podcast here is that kind of shift of when I think you guys are roughly around our age. How old are you guys?
I'm 30.
27.
Yeah, so I'm 26. Thomas is 24. And I think just kind of being the prime age for kind of growing up with that, whereas there's that shift from, I'm not coming home and going on YTV or something. I'm going home and I'm going on the internet and I'm following all my favorite creators there, not on a particular schedule. And I think that's shifted, like younger cousins or like nieces or nephews, you know, that's where they started. They're watching Let's Plays or they're watching slime videos right at the gate before, like, don't even have cable or anything. And I think we were kind of in that transitional generation where, oh, okay, this is kind of my main focus. So it's cool to see you guys, because you think you grew up on that. Do you think, is YouTube for you guys the destination? Like, if I said you get to make a very comfortable living for the rest of your life, would do you think shift towards traditional media or YouTube?
Well, I think me and Brendan are different, because I think what I said only really applies for me.
Right.
Whereas Brendan, you were way more traditional.
Yeah, I watch TV, and YouTube really, like, when I was in high school, YouTube was like kicked in the balls videos and like fail compilations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, fail compilations are a recipe for success online.
Yeah, I honestly would say, like, at its heart, I think YouTube is still that. I would hope that YouTube is still that at its heart.
Oh, I think so. But when I went to college was when I think a lot of the like first creators were coming out, and I was not paying attention to any of it. Like, I used YouTube, but I was not engaged in that. I was pretty like locked in with like everything I was doing when I was in university, just hanging out with people and doing stuff like that. So YouTube doesn't have, I think, any sense of like notability to me. It only comes with like a little bit of shame, where I feel like for Cam that is different, where Cam has friends who are like, that is so cool that you have a YouTube channel, and I feel like I have done something semi-dirty. Yes.
No, well, that's funny, because that's something that we talk about though in some of the previous episodes, is how, like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, if you were to say, I'm a content creator online, like, to say I'm a YouTuber was like laughable. It's like, no, that's not a real job, you know? Or I make videos online. That's not a real job. Or people are like, what, is it porn? You make porn? So, but nowadays, like, because of that shift of where people are viewing content, I think, like, people younger, like even younger than me, would find it like they aspire to be a YouTube star or a TikTok star or whatever. Like, it's not wanting to be a famous singer or actor anymore. But so it's an interesting, like, I don't know, contrast, I would say.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
I heard somewhere that it's probably, it used to always be growing up that it was like doctors or policemen or firefighters that kids would always say in class what they want to be, but I think now it's like YouTuber, influencer, like those sort of things. So it's changing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's something cool about, you know, you're the person that gets your sponsors, and, you know, you're the person that makes these decisions, and it's sort of like somewhat structured right out of my head. This is what I want people to see, where, you know, I think through talking to you guys, I think we've all worked in the machine that is, you know, the film industry, and how it's, and this isn't even a negative, like working on independent or, you know, a pilot that we did was super fun, and I think sometimes you're doing something like a Hallmark and it's a little more soul crushing. No offense to the Hallmark company, but kind of offense, because, you know, have some interracial couples. It's 2020. But I think when you are a cog in this machine, it's fun, but it doesn't seem necessarily personal. You know, even if you're directing something, you know, there's so many other things that come into play. Whereas when you're doing something in the YouTube space, you know, this is ideally content that you want to be putting out, that you want to see, that you want your audience to see.
Right.
And, you know, me personally, that sounds a lot more appealing than, oh yeah, I'm an on-set dresser.
And that's the way that I saw it too, because I graduated with an acting degree and was working in theater, and I was quickly realizing I have no control whether I'm going to be working 6 months from now if this contract runs out, and then I have no control over what I'm doing. I have no control over when I'm getting to be a part of creating something that I'm excited about. And so YouTube seemed like the perfect outlet where I could make as much as I wanted to, and it could look the way that I wanted to. I just needed to be like self-reliant. And so YouTube offered a creative outlet that could eventually pay my bills. It didn't for the longest time. And also, that sort of freedom and independence that a lot of people are looking for. And so to me, it felt like a no-brainer. But at the same time, I think, yeah, it takes, especially like an older generation, understanding when I was like, yeah, mom and dad, I'm going to like quit my contract job and just work on YouTube. They're like, but you have to have like a job, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, no, that's, and if you don't mind me asking, we'll cut this out if this is some information you guys don't want, but are you guys full-time YouTube, or do you have day jobs as well?
Yeah, we've both been full-time YouTube for a little while. I think we're both like doing
that's awesome,
other things here and there, but I think that's more just like trying to build out different skill sets and
Right, more by choice than out of necessity.
Yeah.
And I think like getting to that point where, is there something pretty like, oh, this is awesome, or is there a little element of like, oh, this is scary, I'm very responsible for where dinner comes from?
Both.
You have to be really diligent about managing your time, I find, because even when you will feel like you have really gotten ahead of things and you're doing well, and you'll post a video and you'll feel good about it, and then 2 days will pass and you'll realize you're all of a sudden behind again.
Yeah.
And you actually have a lot more to do for the next video than you expected. And that is a pretty constant fluctuation, especially when you are pre-committing to sponsors to really balance your books and stuff, to be like, yeah, we will sell your spot, and this is roughly the date you're going to have a video out by, to try and keep up with that. We've also taken on another contract doing a series with CBC, which is exciting and also just like
awesome.
A really strange learning curve.
Yeah.
Right.
When it's compared to just like, we just make it for ourselves, and if we're happy with it, we post it.
Now there's like a board of directors to answer to, or at least some sort of higher power that you have to answer to.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes you can send a first draft in, and they'll go, we don't get it. What are you trying to say with this? And you'll go like, oh, well, we're going to do all this other stuff to it, don't worry, but this is kind of the core. And they'll be like, yeah, we don't understand what the core is sometimes. So you have to always just be, sometimes what Cam and I will have a sense of like what's going to be a completed video and what's kind of the skeleton, and then we send them the skeleton and they're like, yeah, we need flesh or something.
Jeez.
I don't know where how that metaphor goes, but we really have to do a much better job of communicating.
Yeah, so on the back end, as far as like, let's say, start to finish of a video, the start is you get this idea, and you realize, okay, this is something that we're going to commit a month to documenting, and the end is posting it. As far as the back end, finding a sponsor, scheduling it, like what does that kind of look like?
It varies. Sometimes I try and do like a week's worth of research before I'm getting started, because a lot of times I realize when I'm doing literally my intros, where I just think I'm explaining the basic stuff of a thing on day one, I would get stuff wrong. And then you go like, well, do I reshoot to like tell people the correct thing, or do I just embrace the fact that I knew nothing on day one and let people roast me in the comments? So I try and come in as prepared as I can to speak about what the challenge is, what some of the obstacles are going to be, and have a plan that I think is attainable. Because you also don't want to commit to something or say like, I'm going to do a video where, I don't know, I learned to dunk a basketball in 30 days. And then you realize you'll probably gain like 2 inches on your vertical or something in that span of time, and you're going to fail miserably. So you want to have a range of like, what's an ambitious goal and what's an impossible goal.
Right.
So those are all stuff I try to have answered, or at least a sense of, before we get started. We have a we have a third person, because there's 2 of us, named Derek, who handles a lot of our sponsors and helps with filming. So he'll come to us either before a video's going or while a video's being shot and go like, hey, I think I've got something that'll work for this. Would you like to work with this brand? And then we'll look at it and say like, I don't know, or yes. And then it is a series of like trimming down and finessing the video through the edit, which we seem to be doing a much faster job. That was always a really hefty part of the process, and I think we're starting to get better at knowing how to shape these quickly.
Right. Well, I guess now you've sort of found a style in it. You can sort of figure out like, okay, this will go like this and this, sort of.
A little bit, yeah. But you also sometimes don't want to get locked into just doing the same thing on repeat.
Of
Because
course.
then
It
you
gets
start to
boring.
feel it.
Yeah, it gets a
And,
little soulless.
Yeah,
it's
no doubt.
nice too, because with being in a challenge when you're like, I'm going to do this thing for 30 days, and I don't really know what the journey's going to look like. It's tricky to know when to film. It's tricky to know what to film. But I think you sort of
Right.
build that intuition doing it more and more. Like, you always know day one's going to be a big day, so prep to film a lot on that day, and then go from there, and finding the moments throughout that you can kind of assume are going to pop up or might pop up, whatever it is. You can build that baseline of intuition to know, okay, I'm going to do this in the most efficient way now, just from the experience of doing it so much.
Do you ever find that like you'll be doing something, say it's like a physical challenge, and you're working out, and something happens where you're like, oh, that was good, I wish I got that on camera? Do you ever set up the camera and kind of recreate it, or do you just go all natural?
Yeah, well,
There is some recreation sometimes. A lot of what we do sometimes will be voiceover as well, where we're just explaining how things are going in the process. Something that we've learned that we want to do every time for these challenges. We always want to have objectives, obstacles, and conflict.
Yeah, of course.
So pinpointing where we're struggling to be like this, and you want to get to that stuff as efficiently as possible. Otherwise, the video just seems dull. And it doesn't seem like you're actually pushing yourself, even though you may be going through stuff. If you're not telling people where the hurdles are, where the challenges, it really seems like an empty process.
Well, because ultimately, you're telling a story, right? Like what keeps people engaged in the video is it's the story of your journey against the challenge.
Yeah,
so it's not necessarily the result; it's the journey. So you want to make sure that that's a good journey.
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, is there ever, you've become really gung-ho, I'm going to do this, you've researched it, and maybe you've shot half of it, and you're like, I don't want to put this out, actually, this is not going to work? Or do you try to see everything through and see where it goes?
I don't think there's ever been a video that's been completely thrown out. There are times we get in the edit and we go, shit, this isn't good, we don't have enough stuff. Yeah. And then it's a process of going like, well, what was some other stuff that happened through this? Let's talk about what this challenge was. Where did the hurdles, and you try and figure out like what is missing from the video that we can add that is still true,
Right.
that we didn't get the first time around. And how do we do that as honestly and fairly as possible?
Right.
Yeah. It's one thing to build out and recreate stuff that like happened, to like better tell the story. It's another thing to just make shit up.
To fabricate stuff. Entirely.
Yeah, we don't do that, but
Yeah. But if you've seen, I don't know, there was I did a skipping video last year where I did a final 400-meter sprint. And we had 2 cameras and we filmed takeoff and finish. And then we went back and we filmed a whole bunch of extra footage of me running the track again from different angles because it just wasn't doable the first time around. So we reshoot stuff like that. But the start and finish of that was
The core of it is
the
real, though.
exactly what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The time
it's
is
not like you're not faking it.
Yeah, and the time is real. Anything that we reshoot, we mostly do just for like aesthetic purposes to make the video engaging.
Speaking of aesthetics, so definitely I noticed looking at the older videos, Cam, there's a big Casey Neistat influence. I know Josh just brought him up a couple times, but I was wondering if you guys had any other influences, like something that jumped out to me, which I don't know if it was just like happenstance, but so do you know the Vlogbrothers? Do you remember them?
the name's familiar. I don't know if I've seen their stuff.
So
Are those the Green brothers?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
John and Hank Green. So what I found interesting, because their sort of gimmick for their channel was they were doing vlogs, but they were addressed to the brother. So it was sort of like, and I saw a parallel with you guys. It seemed like you were doing challenges against yourselves, but also like against each other, you know? So I was just wondering if that was just a happenstance similarity, or if there was any sort of like looking at their model and being like, yeah, that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, it must just be coincidence. I've never seen any of their videos.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's a good.
There's definitely a similarity.
Yeah?
It's a good model though.
I'll have
'cause,
to check it. That's cool.
It makes sense. It gives like some purpose, like some driving force behind the videos, where it's like, I don't know. I find particularly with vlogs, like you guys already have enough of a driving force, but with a vlog where it's like, what's the point of this? Why are you talking to the camera? So it kind of is like, well, the point is for me to tell my brother, and then you can watch it too if you want, but like it's for my brother.
It just with even something like the Green Brothers, where like it's always fun to see them meet up. And I think something that was really cool is, I don't know, I was just watching your guys' grip challenge video last night.
Oh yeah.
And aside from, something where or similar to like when you guys were doing, I think it was around the same time, the 30-day ab challenge, is to actually see you guys do parts of these challenges together. But for the grip video, even doing something like the call where Cam, you're just shitting on him.
Yeah.
I is that how you guys always talk to each other?
It can get belligerent for sure, and it can get very. There's some decent banter, but I mean, we gotta be professional most of the time, right?
There's love
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
If we have conflict on a call, it's less trash talky and much bitchier, honestly.
Okay, that's
Like-
good to know.
I when I get stressed do a little bit of anger, and Cam stews a lot of passive aggressiveness, so that's more
It's a
what you're
perfect
likely to
recipe for
see.
disaster.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
gonna say that's
Super
terrible.
healthy work
As a
environment.
fan, I love seeing that. If you guys do that more, I'd be a happy camper.
That's true.
Yeah. We're well behaved on camera. If we ever got like petty with each other while things were rolling, that would be an interesting.
Yeah, we
video.
really are on our best behavior
Yeah.
on camera for sure. Yeah.
But there
I think-
is sibling rivalry.
No,
Oh,
most of the conflict is really around how the videos get made. It is all in the editing and shooting and scheduling of things,
Right.
and whether or not we are respecting each other's time or managing the time efficiently. Those are usually the areas of conflict.
There's
I think.
definitely some rivalry in quality of videos and performance of videos. I think especially early on. I feel like now I think we're more unified and like as a team. But I think initially, Brendan came onto my channel, made a video that became the most popular video, and I was
Yeah.
choked. I was upset.
You're pissed.
I was gonna ask how it felt because if part of why I was asking if that video was responsible for the channel blowing up was I was gonna be like, how do you feel owing your success
I'm
to
triggered, dude. Like I hate it.
him?
It's great. It's great. It's like that's the thing is me and Brendan have very different skill sets, which makes us work really well. And for instance, especially at that time, like I was editing all the videos for the longest time. Like I know cameras in and out better, like all these things. So I feel like I was doing all these like cool effects and like whatever that I thought were like really sweet. And then Brendan just like sets a grainy cell phone at the gym and does some workouts. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This like it's so noisy. How can people watch this? But like at the same time, Brendan's really good at understanding like story, understanding tempo and pacing of videos. And so I think with like technical skills and I think like me being able to shoot a little bit better and then Brendan understanding like story and that aspect, I think we work really well together. But early on I was like,
You guys are stronger together.
Yeah, early on I was definitely choked. Not gonna lie, a lot of salt.
Yeah. So
Well, if I had have known that was how you were going with that question, I would have said yes, absolutely. It was the Wolverine challenge that put us on the map, and I do think we owe our success to that video.
Yo, get
Yeah, of
outta
course.
here.
it's all me, none of you.
I should have given you a little wink as I was saying it, so you knew
Yeah.
where we were headed with that.
My apologies, I misunderstood. Absolutely, it was that video.
So we are getting to that point. We're hitting about the 50-minute mark, and I don't want to keep you guys too long. Josh, I don't know. Do you have any final questions?
Two more
Josh?
questions. Number one is a little less hard hitting, but do you think the quality of your guys' videos has gone up a notch, and even like the flow of it now that you guys both live in the same city?
Yes, 100%. Look at
I do think it's a stronger like channel dynamic. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No,
there?
go ahead. I was just gonna say, look at Brendan's videos from when he was filming himself in Toronto to when he's filming now. Like that's it. Just look at them.
Well, I'm shooting on a better camera with like a person helping me all the
Yeah,
time.
it's elevated it. I'm not saying I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's elevated.
So when you said there's no sibling rivalry, that was bullshit.
I just need this right now, okay?
Okay, so, and then,
It's sibling rivalry about the actual channel and like the making of videos themselves. When we actually
for good,
like,
it's for good. Yeah.
like there's stuff where it's just like, yeah, I know Cam's like faster than me and is a little gazelle, but then he knows like he can't lift as much, and it's like, well, we're at a moot point now. The only
So
time we can really like compete on an even playing field would be like if we play 1-on-1 or something.
I think what then you guys should be doing is you ride on Cam's back, and then you'll be fast and strong.
Wow.
And any
Yeah,
enemy
but he
will fall at your
like a
feet.
Power Ranger assembly or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get really good at like farmers carries and stuff, and then you guys can make some sort of Voltron like super brother.
I think you're right.
Well,
And you
with
can
me
fight
doing,
the Vlogbrothers.
Oh, we'll beat the shit out of them.
Have a chicken
we'd
fight.
win.
Oh, you will.
That's not
They're very weak, and
That's not a nice matchup.
So my
They're
last.
so much smarter than
my
us,
last
but
question.
we'll win a fight for sure.
And this is, I think, a hard-hitting question. I think as a member of your audience, it's something all of your audience wants to know is, are you guys really brothers? Or are you guys like, is this a ruse and you guys are hooking up?
We're hooking
Oh,
up.
the gay lover brothers
We
are gay
used to
lovers.
Hooking up
We
on the
used to
side.
get that so much. People thought we were gay for like early on in the channel. They're like my favorite gay YouTubers, and those are always my favorite comments. I thought those were so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss those days.
we should have leaned into it. It probably would have done well.
So
for
the
us.
whole girlfriends and wives, that's not a ruse. That's, you guys are brothers.
Look, if it's a ruse, we're not giving it up now. It's.
Not for us.
I think there's a good David Lynch quote where he says, "I like movies with mystery, and I specifically like ones where there's still mystery at the end." So I'm gonna leave your audience with that same amount.
Plead the fifth, but there's definitely some.
So
chemistry.
at the end of this video, you guys are either going to hang up and call your mom or hang out and just go to town with each other. It's going to be one of
might-
the
Explore the hand,
You were
the
lying
hands-
about the hands-free
I was gonna
eject.
say we got some things to explore.
Or maybe this is why you've never had to do the hands-free ejac.
So if I start dying at some point and I get that last wish, I'm going to be like, it's going to be for the Goal Guys to make a hands-free ejac video, and you'll have to do it. So you'll have my blood on your
Is
hands.
that good? That's like
I think that'll be our first OnlyFans.
There you go. That's it.
So
We'll try and transition the goal-oriented style to pornography.
So okay,
I
I
think there's a market there.
I'm an idiot. I'm gonna ask one last question, a serious one though. And I say this because one of the things we say on every podcast, whether it be near the beginning or the end, is, you know, we're idiots. Don't take us at face value, but don't correct us. You know, like don't comment, oh, by the way, I think what you said is wrong. Like, no. Like, rate 5 stars, subscribe to our Patreon, subscribe to our Wholesome OnlyFans.
Send us money on Patreon or just
and
direct
if
transfer.
you do think something we said was incorrect, like, yeah, DM us and say, hey, you guys make the best podcast in the world. I love your stuff. Maybe, possibly, do you think you might have gotten that wrong? And then delete that part where you say, yeah, I think you got it wrong. Never correct us, but we might be wrong about stuff. But that being said, you know, I think even before the call started, talking about your guys' most recent video, maybe not the most recent video when this comes out, but the one you were doing about going into a gym for the first time in a while, and people being like, well, the Smith machine is actually 20. How often do you think you guys get corrected? And does that affect you guys at all with people just kind of being snarky and being like, actually?
We get a lot of notes. Sometimes they're conflicting, but everyone's an expert on YouTube. I feel like the note about the Smith machine is probably true. How do you feel about the comments, Cam? Because we get plenty.
yeah, we do get quite a few. There's a lot of people that bring the big well actually energy to the comment section, and I kind of expect it. I feel like initially there's some videos that those comments are more upsetting, but I think on the whole I kind of relish negative comments a lot. I think they're really fun, especially like the really absurd negative comments. But yeah, people critiquing information, it's kind of like just an eye roll, I guess. I don't really feel too much one way or another on it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm turning over a new leaf this year because we got a few comments that were like particularly mean on that video, and I just booted them from the channel, and I was just like,
we block people. Yeah.
I'm just like,
Nice.
we're living through a global pandemic. I don't have time for this. I'm new leaf in life. I've lost a year to this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No time for people snarky comments about some
Yeah.
bullshit.
No, I do want to channel the energy of the old bodybuilder YouTubers sometime, where you just make videos addressing the trolls and trash talking. But But really, I don't have the biceps for that, so it's just going to be a block.
I think
Well, that'll be yeah.
What after this year, once you get jacked
There you go.
even more, and then you make a rap.
We'll drop diss tracks.
You need 25-inch arms if you want.
I'm gonna do those roid-induced clapbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
What we'll do is I'll hook you up with my boyu bodybuild. He'll get you some HGH. He'll get you the trend. You'll blow the fuck up. You'll look like Ronnie
I
goddamn
genuinely-
Coleman.
Unironically think this is a year I do a performance-enhancing drugs video.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be really interesting. But it'd be very transparent. It'd be like, I am taking these supplements. Not even
Right.
roids, just like all of the things that you can get. And
be
just
like-
be like, well, let's play. Let's see what happens.
You'd have to, for your health, because we care about you, you'd have to get a doctor to help.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We want you to be safe.
Just want to be clear. These are not like the needle in the bum steroids. I just like the stuff that is like on the market. You can mix into your routine.
Yeah, you can.
Right.
I just want to see.
Not for me, but if you want, like, because I watch workout videos, I get targeted Facebook ads for SARMs. I mean, I guess you can buy them. I wouldn't, if it's something you want to try. I'm watching that video.
Oh, I'm clicking that for sure.
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Most people try and take it on the down low and then just be like, yeah, I ate chicken breasts and
Broccoli,
drank
chicken breast and broccoli diet.
drank 2 liters of water a day, and I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I took all of these supplements. Here's what happens.
Yeah. Here's what's happened to my body. It's a
Well,
wreck.
you've seen a good 2-year sample of me like trying to eat well and exercising, because then it's like, okay, what just happens if I add these things to my routine? What can I do?
Anavar and Austrian over the counter, baby. Let's see what happens. I want to see you blow the fuck up. But you know what, guys? I want to say thank you so much for doing the pod.
Yeah,
For
thanks.
sure. Thanks for having
Thank you for having
This
us.
is great.
If by some chance some freaking moron is watching this and doesn't know who you guys are, how can they find you?
Well, we are Goal Guys on YouTube, but sometimes I feel like I need to spell that because people don't.
People don't know how to spell.
They always do like a what?
Goal.
What? But Goal Guys, GOAL Guys. On YouTube, we have a Twitter and an Instagram. Don't follow us on Facebook because we don't do anything on that platform.
Yeah.
But Twitter and Instagram, we're occasionally active, and but mainly watch us on YouTube.
Nice.
Awesome. And also just, aside from the fact that we've been on set for the past 5 years and haven't made a YouTube video in probably 9 years, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, why are we not successful?
Like you guys. Yeah, what are we doing wrong?
Is it Josh's party shirt?
Is it the
I don't think it is, but I don't know. I'm at a loss.
it's not the best shirt.
I think you need to start doing content solely based around the hands-free eject. I think there's a demo that's definitely interested in that. So I feel like you just need to lean into what's
Right.
working for you.
So, yeah. The wholesome OnlyFans, the hands-free eject.
Yeah.
Well,
Right on.
Again, thank you guys so much. Find them at Goal Guys on YouTube. If you want to see us, we're Friend Styles on the YouTubes to see some of our sketches. Subscribe to our Wholesome OnlyFans on our Patreon. Thank you guys so much.
Adios.